Harvey had watched married couples tease each other on Family Feud for years. A husband would reveal an embarrassing habit. A wife would give him a look. The audience would laugh. And the game would continue. But on one Friday afternoon in Atlanta, the laughter stopped with a sound no one in the studio expected to hear. 39-year-old Tasha Reynolds stood beside her husband, Darren, at the family podium. They had been married for 14 years. To viewers, they looked like a successful couple, attractive, confident, and surrounded by relatives who clearly loved them. Then Steve asked, "Name something a husband might say during an argument that he regrets later." Darren hit the buzzer. "I should have married someone else," he answered. The audience reacted with a mixture of laughter and shock. Steve slowly turned toward him. "You said that during an argument?" Darren smiled. "More than once." Tasha's face changed. Steve noticed immediately. "Hold on now. Your wife is not laughing." Darren shrugged. "She knows I'm joking." "No," Tasha said quietly. "I know you say it whenever you want to hurt me." The studio became still. Instead of apologizing, Darren leaned toward the microphone. "Well, maybe if you had given me the family I wanted, I wouldn't say it." Tasha had suffered 3 miscarriages. The third had nearly taken her life. Her husband had just turned the deepest pain of their marriage into a punchline on national television. Before Steve could step between them, Tasha slapped Darren across the face. The sound echoed through the studio. Music stopped. The game board froze. Producers moved toward the stage. Steve did not laugh. He did not look at the camera for a reaction. He placed himself between the couple and raised one hand. "Stop the show." No one moved. Steve looked first at Darren, then at Tasha. "What he said was cruel," he told her. "What you did was violence. We are not going to excuse either one." Tasha began to cry. Darren held his cheek, too stunned to speak. Steve removed his question cards and set them on the podium. "This family did not break in the last 10 seconds, he said. "Something has been breaking for a long time. We are not playing another question until we understand what just happened." Tasha Reynolds grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. Her mother raised 4 children while working nights at a hotel laundry. Tasha learned early how to make food stretch, keep younger siblings calm, and smile even when the electricity bill was overdue. At 22, she met Darren at a community college business class. He was charming, ambitious, and able to make her laugh when she felt overwhelmed. Darren dreamed of owning a construction company. Tasha wanted a bakery. They married 2 years later. During the early years, they worked as a team. Darren repaired kitchens during the day. Tasha baked cakes at night while working full-time at a bank. Their apartment smelled like buttercream and sawdust. When Darren started his company, Tasha used nearly all her savings to buy his first tools and truck. She handled invoices after work and packed his lunch before dawn. "When my company succeeds," he promised, "your bakery is next." The company did succeed. Within 7 years, Darren employed 12 workers and purchased a large house. But Tasha's bakery remained next. Whenever she mentioned it, Darren said the timing was wrong. They needed another truck, then a bigger office, then more savings. Tasha continued baking from home. Her cakes became popular, but Darren treated the work like a hobby. At parties, he introduced himself as the business owner and Tasha as the woman who keeps everybody fed. At first, she laughed. Over time, the joke became a small cage. The couple also wanted children. Tasha became pregnant after 5 years of marriage, but lost the baby at 11 weeks. The second miscarriage happened 2 years later. The third came at 20 weeks and required emergency surgery. Darren grieved, but he did not know how to speak about it. He returned to work the next day and told Tasha they should move forward. Tasha could not move forward on command. She attended counseling alone. She packed away baby clothes alone. She answered relatives' questions alone. When grief changed her energy and appearance, Darren became impatient. During arguments, he accused her of being negative. Once he said, "I married a woman who wanted a family, not someone who cries every time she sees a stroller." He apologized the next morning and bought flowers. The pattern continued: cruelty, silence, gifts, temporary peace. Tasha never hit him. Darren never hit her. But words became weapons in their home. The Reynolds family applied to Family Feud because Darren's mother, Gloria, had recently recovered from breast cancer. Tasha completed the application and organized the trip. She hoped the experience might bring joy back into the family. 2 nights before taping, Tasha and Darren argued at the hotel. She discovered he had used money from their joint savings to purchase another company vehicle. That account held the money Tasha planned to use for a small bakery storefront. "I thought we agreed," she said. "I earned most of it," Darren replied. "I helped build that company." "You typed invoices. Do not act like you poured concrete." Then he said the sentence he often used to end the argument. "Maybe I should have married someone who understood business." Tasha slept in her sister's hotel room. The next morning, Darren acted as if nothing had happened. By the time they reached the stage, Tasha was carrying years of grief, resentment, and humiliation behind a television smile. The Reynolds family faced the Parkers from Georgia. Darren stood first, followed by Tasha, Gloria, Tasha's sister Monique, and Darren's cousin Leon. Steve greeted them with his usual warmth. "Darren, what do you do?" "I own Reynolds Premier Construction." "You built that yourself?" Darren smiled. "From nothing." Tasha looked down. Monique noticed. So did Steve. When Steve reached Tasha, he asked about her work. "I'm a bank supervisor, and I bake custom cakes." Darren interrupted. "She makes expensive messes in my kitchen." The audience laughed politely. Steve looked at Tasha. "Are they good cakes?" "People seem to think so." "She had 87 paid orders last year," Monique added. "And he still calls it a hobby." Steve raised an eyebrow at Darren. 87 people paid money? That is a business." Tasha smiled for the first time. The first rounds went well. Gloria gave energetic answers. Leon danced after winning a face-off. Tasha correctly guessed 2 number-1 responses, but Darren continued cutting her off. When she suggested an answer during a huddle, he dismissed it. When it appeared on the board, he claimed the point as a family success. The behavior was small enough to look harmless, but repeated often enough to tell a larger story. During a break, Steve quietly asked Tasha, "You all right?" She nodded automatically. Steve did not believe her, but the cameras resumed. Then came the question about what husbands say during arguments. Darren gave the answer that changed the afternoon. After the slap, security staff approached, but Steve asked them to wait. Darren was not physically injured and did not move toward Tasha. Still, Steve made sure the couple stood apart. "Tasha," he said, "step over here with your sister." Monique placed an arm around her. "Darren, stand beside your mother." Gloria looked at her son with disappointment rather than sympathy. Steve addressed the room. "Nobody is going to cheer for a person being hit, and nobody is going to laugh at a woman's miscarriages. If we are going to talk, we are going to tell the truth about both." The audience remained silent. Tasha wiped her face. "I am sorry I hit him." Steve replied, "That apology matters. But do not explain it in a way that makes it acceptable. You can leave a conversation. You can end a marriage. You can expose a lie. You cannot put your hands on somebody because their words hurt you." Tasha nodded. "You're right." Steve turned to Darren. "Now you. Do not use her wrong action to hide from yours. You stood on national television and blamed your wife for losing children she wanted just as much as you did." Darren looked defensive. "I didn't blame her. I said she didn't give me the family I wanted." Steve stared at him. "That is blame wearing a suit." Gloria closed her eyes. Darren continued, "People joke when they are uncomfortable. A joke is supposed to create laughter." Steve said, "You used private pain to create power." The words landed heavily. Steve asked producers to take an extended break and bring the show's counselor to the stage. The competing Parker family was escorted to a lounge and assured the game would be completed later. No one knew whether the Reynolds footage would air, with the cameras still recording for documentation. The family sat in chairs near the podium. A licensed counselor named Dr. Elaine Morris joined them. Tasha spoke first. "I have been angry for years," she said, "not only about the babies. I'm angry because every sacrifice I made became invisible after his company succeeded. She told the family about the bakery savings and the new truck. Gloria turned toward Darren. You used her money? It was our money. Then it required 2 yeses, Steve said. Darren insisted the truck would increase income for both of them. Tasha replied, You always call it ours when you need my sacrifice, and yours when you want the credit. Monique squeezed her hand. Doctor, Morris asked Darren what he felt after the miscarriages. For the first time, his confidence weakened. I felt useless, he admitted. I could not fix anything. Every time she cried, I felt like I was failing. So you punished her for showing the pain you were avoiding? The counselor asked. Darren looked at the floor. Maybe, Tasha shook her head. Not maybe, he nodded. Yes, Darren explained that his father had taught him a man should solve problems and never show weakness. After each pregnancy loss, Darren returned to work because work made him feel capable. Tasha's grief reminded him that money and effort could not repair everything. None of that excused his cruelty, but it revealed where it began. Gloria spoke next. Your father taught you the wrong lesson, she told Darren. He did not know how to apologize either. I stayed quiet too many times. I will not stay quiet while you repeat him. Darren began to cry. I am sorry, he told Tasha. She looked at him carefully. Are you sorry because I hit you? Because Steve corrected you? Or because you understand what you did? Darren had no quick answer. Steve nodded. That is a fair question. Do not rush past it because the cameras are waiting. Then Monique revealed something Darren did not expect. Tasha had planned to leave the marriage after the taping. She had already spoken with an attorney and arranged to stay with her sister. The bakery account had represented more than a business. It was her path toward financial independence. Darren looked shocked. You were going to leave me? Tasha answered, I kept waiting for the man I married to return. Then I realized you kept waiting for me to become small enough that you never had to change. She admitted the slap frightened her because it showed how much anger she had allowed to grow. I do not want to become someone who responds to cruelty with violence, she said. I need to leave before we do more damage. Darren asked for another chance. Tasha did not answer immediately. Doctor, Morris explained that an apology did not require immediate reconciliation. The couple needed space, individual counseling, and clear financial records. Tasha also needed to accept consequences for striking him. Darren surprised everyone by saying he did not want charges filed. Steve made clear that this did not erase what happened. Mercy is not permission, he said. And forgiveness is not a reset button. Tasha agreed to leave the hotel with Monique. Darren agreed to provide complete access to their accounts and to stop contacting her except through a counselor for the next week. The show ended the Reynolds family's participation. The Parkers were declared winners and later played fast money. The Reynolds did not receive prize money or a celebratory closing. Steve believed ending the game was important. You cannot turn harm into entertainment and then throw confetti over it, he later said. Before the audience left, Steve stood alone at center stage. What happened here today is not funny, he said. A man used his wife's loss to humiliate her. A woman responded by hitting him. If you only condemn the person you dislike, you are not standing on principle. You are choosing a team. He paused. Words can be abusive, hands can be abusive, money can be used to control. Pain explains behavior, but it does not excuse harm. Steve then spoke directly to couples. Do not wait for a public explosion to admit your home is in trouble. Get help when contempt becomes normal. When every disagreement ends with humiliation, threats, silence, or fear. That is not communication. He also addressed people who recognize themselves in Tasha. If someone is breaking you down, leave the room. Get support. Make a plan. Do not give them the power to turn you into someone you do not respect. Then he addressed those who recognize Darren's behavior. Providing money does not purchase the right to disrespect the person who helped you build your life. If you keep using somebody's deepest wound to win arguments, one day you may win the argument and lose the marriage. The audience stood, not to celebrate the incident, but to acknowledge the honesty of the response. The network initially planned never to air the segment. Tasha and Darren later agreed to a carefully edited version after consulting attorneys and counselors. They wanted the public message to include accountability for both people, not a sensational clip of the slap. 6 months later, Steve recorded a follow-up. Tasha appeared alone first. She had completed an intervention program focused on anger and non-violent responses. She continued individual therapy and had apologized privately to Darren and both families without asking anyone to minimize his words. She had also opened a small bakery called Second Rise. The name referred to bread, but also to rebuilding a life after it collapsed. Tasha financed it with her own income after Darren returned the money taken from their joint savings. The bakery hired 2 women restarting their careers after major family crises. Leaving did not make everything easy, she told Steve. It made honesty possible. Darren joined the conversation separately. He had entered grief counseling and a men's accountability group. He admitted that he had spent years treating emotional cruelty as normal because it left no visible mark. I thought because I never hit my wife I was not hurting her, he said. I used words, money, and silence to control the house. Then when she hit me, I wanted everyone to see only what she did in that second. Steve asked if the marriage would continue. Darren answered, "That is not my decision alone." Tasha had filed for legal separation. They attended structured counseling, but she had not promised reconciliation. "I forgive him," she said. "I also forgive myself. But trust requires a history we do not have yet." Steve nodded. That is grown-up truth. 1 year after the taping, Tasha and Darren finalized their divorce respectfully. The decision disappointed some relatives, but neither used the family to pressure the other. Darren signed documents acknowledging Tasha's early financial contributions to his company. A settlement returned the money she had invested and gave her a fair share of the value built during the marriage. Tasha's bakery grew. Every year on the date she opened, Second Rise donated cakes to a pregnancy loss support group. Tasha spoke openly about grief, anger, and the danger of pretending strength means silence. Darren continued counseling. He began teaching business owners about financial transparency between spouses. He did not present himself as a hero. He described himself as a man who nearly lost his ability to see another person's humanity because success had made him feel entitled. The former couple eventually reached a peaceful relationship. They did not reunite, but they could attend family events without reopening old battles. Gloria remained close to Tasha. "Divorce ended the marriage," she said. "It did not erase 14 years of calling you my daughter." The Family Feud episode became widely discussed. But Steve refused to allow promotional clips that replayed the slap repeatedly. He wanted viewers to remember what followed it. When asked about the incident years later, Steve said, "The most important part was not that I stopped the game. It was that the family finally stopped pretending." He repeated the lesson he had given on stage. Cruel words do not justify violence. Violence does not erase cruel words. Accountability has enough room to hold 2 truths. The Reynolds family arrived at Family Feud hoping to win money and celebrate recovery. Instead, the show exposed a marriage built on unspoken grief, financial control, and growing resentment. The slap was the moment everyone saw, but it was not the beginning of the damage. Steve Harvey's reaction mattered because he refused to turn pain into a joke, refused to choose a convenient villain, and refused to let applause become permission. He stopped the show so the truth could finally begin.